Hello friends, welcome back on your channel Medicine and Health Initiative Center. I am by the names of Joseph Ndayishimiye. Today's topic is not new, but the continuation of the previous topic, which was hemostasis. But today we are going to cover the lesson 2 steps, which are coagulation, cascade, and deep fibrinolysis. Let us be together. Hemostasis. Hemostasis is the process or the set of mechanisms by which the body uses to sear the ruptured blood vessels so to prevent the further blood loss. That's one. Second, we have said that we have steps of hemostasis. In the previous presentation, we have talked about first step, which is vascular spasm or transient vasoconstriction. The second step is what we call platelet plaque formation. Third, we have said that the third step of hemostasis is coagulation, cascade. The last, we look a little bit on degradation of fibrinolysis, which is fibrinolysis. We have already discussed on this first 2 points. Now let us go on with the third step, which is coagulation cascade. Friends, please, I need your attention, because much things are going to be discussed on this topic. As a recap, we have seen that when there is a certain part of the blood vessel which is injured, there is first we have injured blood vessel. When we have the injured blood vessel, there is immediate release of endothelin, vasoconstrictor endothelin, which are immediately released by vascular lining cells and pain receptors. What do these vasoconstrictors do? They initiate the excessive contraction of the blood vessels at the site of injury to prevent the further blood loss, and then they lead to what we call vasospasm. Or vascular spasm. On this point of vasospasm, what happens? there is the release of other substances. As you know, we have some chemicals that are released from the underlying exposed tissues and fibers. Those glucoproteins are called von Willebrand factor, which stabilize the glowing platelet plug. And then you have platelet plug formation. On this stage, we are having the platelet plug, where the granules inside the platelets are going to release other chemicals for either maintaining the platelet plug or expanding the platelet plug. Those chemicals, we have ADP, adenosine diphosphate, which locates the additional platelets, so to expand and maintain the platelet plug. Second chemical, there is serotonin. This vasoconstrictor serotonin is secreted to increase, is secreted to make the blood vessels, especially near the site of injury, to be more contracted and then prevent further blood loss. The same story to prostaglandins and arachidonic acid, especially arachidonic acid, phospholipids. In the previous video, we have said that this vasoconstrictor, prostaglandins, and the phospholipids, arachidonic acid, they are there to cause vasoconstriction, of course, but to initiate the second stage of the third step of hemostasis, which is coagulation cascade. Coagulation cascade, which is the topic of today. Friends, very crucial and important to know is coagulation cascade. Of course, it needs you to keep your eyes in this whiteboard, so to have all the knowledge, all the wisdom, so to be well prepared with this knowledge. Now, friends, remember, we have said that in vasospasm, and platelet formation, the key players in this match game is platelets. Keep in mind. Second, In the coagulation cascade, the key players are group of substances called clotting factors. Clotting factors. Clotting factors. Coagulation cascade. Now friends, what is coagulation cascade? We have two words, coagulation and cascade. Coagulation means clot formation. Clot formation. Cascade refers to process of course where one event prompts the next in something like multi-level waterfall. This is the meaning. If you combine these two words, coagulation and cascade, we have coagulation cascade refers to processing where body, especially larger the reversal, form clot through something sophisticated or sequence of events where one event prompts the next in something like multi-level waterfall. That is, friends, in coagulation cascade, we have what we call pathways. Coagulation pathways. Coagulation pathways. One, we have intrinsic pathway. Second, you have extrinsic pathway. Third, we have common pathway. These are the three pathways of coagulation cascade. Intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, common pathway. Intrinsic pathway is a pathway of coagulation which is stimulated when the blood flow or those phospholipids and serotonin get attached on the internal damage to when the bloodstream get in contact with internal damage of the blood vessel wall. Extrinsic pathway, it is of course triggered or initiated when the extravascular trauma or extravascular cells gets in contact with blood stream. Common pathway is stimulated or initiated when clotting factor A, which is toward power factor, or from kinase is activated by either intrinsic pathway or extrinsic pathway. Friends, we have seen that the key player games or key players in this game, clotting coagulation cascade, it is collectively called clotting factors. There are 12 known clotting factors that are numbered 1 through 13. Of course, you see the gap in between 12, but numbered from 1 to 13 according to the order of discovery. What happened for this to take place? Among these 13 factors, you have to keep in mind that factor 6 doesn't exist. To mean that factor 6 was once distinct, was believed to be, but now is thought to be identical to factor 5, which is proaxillary. Friends, majority, you have to keep in mind that majority of these factors are primarily produced by liver and platelets. The source of majority of the clotting factors are liver and the platelets. Liver and platelets. We have 12 clotting factors. Majority of them are produced by liver and platelets. Okay. Let us go on. Change the site so everyone can see. Platelets. Friends, let us see. We have factor number, factor number, factor number. Let us look name of the factor, name of the factor, or the factor. Let us look type of molecule, molecule. Let us look the source, of course, and the pathway where the factor mainly work. This is factor 1 is called fibrinogen. Fibrinogen. Of course, it is plasma protein. It is, I want to talk on the source of those factors afterwards. The pathway, it is in a common pathway where it is converted into fibrin. Second factor, it is clotting. It's also a plasma protein. The same state to this, it is functional in a common pathway. The third is tissue thromboplastin, which is the mixture of lipoprotein, the source anterior. This is useful in the extrinsic pathway. iron, calcium iron, which is plasma inorganic ion. The source, let me escape it, I talk it later. It acts in the entire process. Factor 5, it is pro-accelerating. Pro-accelerating, which is also plasma protein. It acts in both intrinsic pathway and extrinsic pathway. Factor 6 is no longer distinct. No longer distinct. Now factor 7, it is by the name of proconverting. Proconverting. It is a protein. And it is functional and extrinsic pathway. Factor 8, it is anti-hemophiliac A. Of course, it's a plasma protein. Plasma protein. It is functional in the intrinsic pathway. Factor 9 is anti-hemophiliac B, or plasma thrombocytic component. You have to remember that the deficiency of anti-hemophiliac A leads to hemophilia A. While the anti-hemophiliac B, which is a plasma protein, will lead its deficiency leads to hemophilia A, hemophilia B. It is also functional in the intrinsic pathway. Let us continue with the last three. Friends, factor 10 is by the name of start from factor thrombokinase. It is also a protein, a plasma protein by nature, and the source, I talk it later, but it works in both extrinsic pathway and intrinsic pathway. Factor 11 is anti-hemophiliac C or plasma antecedent. Hemophiliac C or plasma antecedent. It is also plasma protein, and it works in intrinsic pathway, and its deficiency will lead to anti-inferior C. Factor 12, it is Hageman factor which initiates intrinsic pathway. It is also plasma protein, and it works in the intrinsic pathway. The last factor, factor 13, is called fibrin stabilizing factor. It is fibrin stabilizing factor which is a plasma protein. And it works in a common pathway where it stabilizes fibrin. This is the list of 12 known clotting factors, which are the main key players in this game of coagulation cascade. I remember we didn't talk about meiosis, but previously I have said that majority all these factors are manufactured by liver and platelets. Let us go. Friends, we have said that let us look the clotting factor that are produced by liver. It can be produced by liver and the other common components like platelets or endothelial cells of the blood vessels. On the liver, we have vitamin K dependent factors, which are factor 2, factor 7, factor 9, and the factor 10. Not easy to remember them, but it's very Factor 2 plus factor 7 is equal to this. If they ask you the vitamin K dependent factors, please, you have to remember this. Factor 2 plus factor 7 is equal to factor 9, not factor 10. That is. Second, there are other factors that are produced by liver without depending on the Let us go. Non-vitamin K dependent factors are use this formula. Factor 1 plus factor 11 is equal to factor 12, not factor 13. And then we are missing one factor that is able to be produced by liver. But to remember it, come back on the word liver. How many letters do we have in this word liver? Let us count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh! Factor 11 and factor 12 are the only factors that are able to be produced by liver. But factor produced by liver and platelets. Yes. Now there are other factors that are not produced by liver but platelets. But platelets. Let us change. But platelets. How will you remember them? How will you remember them? Very easy. Remember, 6 over 3 is equal to 8 over 4. Very easy. Remember, factor 6 doesn't exist by now. But all the 3 factors remaining here, this fraction, are distinct. Factor 3 is the tissue thromboplastin. Factor 3 is tissue thromboplastin, which is able to be produced by damaged cells and platelets. Factor 8 are produced by endothelial cells of the blood vessel and the platelets. Factor 4, which is calcium, it is able to be produced by platelets. That's one. Second, it can be produced from bone marrow, or it can be found from diet. I think we have said that fibrin, it is by liver. Fibrin, factor 1, liver. Factor 2, prothrombin, it is, of course, liver, but vitamin K dependent. Factor 3, it is by damaged cells and platelets. Factor 4, we have said it's from diet, it is from bone, matrix, and the platelets. Factor 5, proaxenaline, we have said that this is produced by liver and the platelets. This doesn't exist, factor 6. Proconvertin, which is factor 7, it is produced by the platelets. Now friends, we have the factor 9, which is antihemophiliac, factor B, which is plasma, which is which is protein by nature. It is produced factor 9. 2 plus 7 is equal to 9, not 10. It is also vitamin K dependent. To mean that liver is able to produce this factor together with all those 2, 7, 9 and 10, depending on the fat-soluble vitamin K. Only factor 10 is also liver but vitamin K dependent. Anamorphic factor 11, this is by liver and platelets. Now Hedman factor, see factor 12. This is also liver. It is a liver. And 13, it is by liver and platelets. Liver and platelets. Friends, we are done with the clotting factors. I think you are okay. You have to remember them, able to know them, because it's very useful in management of many either medical or surgical diseases. It's a very, very, very common disease, very common situation in all areas of medicine. Please keep in mind all those factors. Now let us go on with pathways. We have injured blood vessel, but specifically only the internal damage of blood vessel, which gets in contact with the bloodstream. Here we have extrinsic pathway. This is intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, which is triggered or initiated by trauma or extravascular cells. What happened? It starts with factor 12, which is Hedman factor, which is activated. Once this factor 12 is activated, it is now able to activate factor 11. Once factor 11 is activated, it gets the time to activate factor 9. Factor 9. And this factor 9, it forms directly a complex with activated factor 8 by protein C and S. form complex within, and this complex is able to activate factor 10. Is able to activate factor 10. This is the intrinsic pathway of coagulation cascade. We have said that the extrinsic pathway of coagulation cascade is able to be activated once the extravascular cells gets in touch with bloodstream or the leakage of the blood, which contains various components, as we have said, like platelets and those vasoconstrictors, serotonin, prostaglandin, and all those things initiate extrinsic pathway. Once that thing takes place, activate factor 3. Tissue allows factor 3 to activate factor 7 through converting is activated. Once factor 7 is activated, it forms a complex with the factors 3 again to form complex of factor 7 and factor 3, which is not activated. And this complex is able to activate factor 10. This is the intrinsic pathway. While this is extrinsic pathway, and they merge to form what we call common pathway, which starts with activated factor 10. Activated factor 10. Friends, once factor 10 is activated, is able to allow conversion of prothrombin, which is factor 2, into thrombin, which is activated factor 2. But this happens via activated factor 5, which is prothrombinase. Once activated factor 2, which is prothrombin, is activated, it is able to initiate to allow fibrinogen into fibrin but here we have the function of calcium ion via plasmin, and then there is formation of fibrin, and this is the end of coagulation cascade. This is the end of coagulation cascade. Because as I've said, the coagulation cascade starts with the recruitment of clotting factors, either from liver and the platelets, and then ends with the formation of fibrin. And the last step, which is the fourth step of hemostasis, is what we call fibrinolysis. Fibrinolysis, it is composed with two words. First one is fibrin, which is a kind of plasma protein. Second one is lysis, which means degradation, destruction. And then, if you combine the two, you find fibrinogen to be the gland or degradation of the formed clot or stabilized clot. Fibrinolysis, refer to gradual degradation of stabilized clot. Friends, what happens? Within the stabilized clot, we have contractile proteins which act on this clot. As those proteins within this stabilized clot gets contracted, there is as the protein, those contracted proteins within stabilized clot, as they contract, they cause the fibrin threads, they cause the fibrin thread to be more tight, bringing together the edges of this clot, more tightly together. And somewhat we do when we are tightening our loose shoelaces. And after this is happened, what has happened? For the body to restore, the normal blood flow, the clot must be gradually removed as of course the blood vessel heals. At this stage, we have inactive protein which is called fibrinogen, which is converted into, there is inactive protein called which is called plasminogen. It must be converted into plasmin. And this plasmin is responsible for final degradation of previously formed clot. And after the resolution of the stabilized clot, there is the release, finally, there is the release of vasodilator bradykinin, which comes to reverse all the effects of vasoconstrictors, prostaglandin, phospholipids, prostaglandins, serotonin, so that the normal saturation can increase after relaxation of smooth muscles. Thank you, friends, for being together with me on this channel, Medicine and Health Initiative Center. If you get interested, I request you to subscribe, to comment, to share, and to like, so to be the first, after for the upcoming videos. Thank you.